zombie pirates, giant enemy crabs, and lost lore from the Warhammer universe. This is everything you need to know about Curse of the Vampire Coast. I'm Bodders, and I'm joined by Matt Elliott.
Hello, Bodders.
Hello, Matt Elliott of Elliottshire. Matt, this is amazing. So come on, tell me, what is this?
So the Curse of the Vampire Coast is a new DLC package for Total War Warhammer 2. So unlike some of the previous expansions that we've had, it's not like a standalone campaign. So the Beastman expansion for the first game, for example, came with its own campaign and its own sort of narrative. So this one sort of slots quite cleverly, really, into the two existing campaigns. So you've got the Mortal Empires campaign, which is this sort of a huge kind of cross-game campaign that slots together both maps from the first Total War game and the second one, and the Eye of the Vortex campaign as well, which is a sort of narrative campaign from Total War Warhammer 2. So this new sort of vampire pirate faction, Vampirates as we're calling them.
Vampirates. That's the best contraction I've heard.
It's
today.
amazing. I don't why they didn't call it that. I don't know.
Yeah, we should campaign for them to do this. Come on, Creative Assembly, listen.
It might be a little bit late for that. So yeah, they slot into the existing campaign map, but they do have their own kind of reasons for doing what they're doing. So the kind of Eye of the Vortex campaign in the second game, like the main factions in that are trying to control this vortex for various sort of reasons which are entirely their own. The vampires don't care about that, they have their own reasons for doing it, which is in itself quite interesting and fun, but we'll talk about that more in a bit.
Okay, that's a really good overview, Matt, but tell me, who are these races then?
So they are vampire pirates, and that encompasses lots of different things. So there's a couple of like full-on vampire captains that are kind of, well, admirals actually of their own fleets.
Admiral. Sorry, I'm going to stop.
Not everything has to be a contraction.
Yes, it does. I'm going to find more.
There's one general who essentially is like a kind of a banshee. She was a singer who got drowned on the way to a sort of big gig. So she kind of comes back from the dead with the intention of singing for the High Elves.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, that also means killing them as well. Like the singing thing is a bit of a misnomer. And there's a human captain as well who has an undead fleet at her command. So they're quite varied. There's 4 different admirals you can choose from, but essentially they form part of this same group of kind of disparate kind of undead pirates, and they're drawn from kind of the furthest reaches of Warhammer lore. And if you're into this sort of stuff, this is particularly interesting because it's the first time Creative Assembly have essentially made an army that didn't already have an army book. So they're kind of drawn from like Warhammer Chronicles, from the expanded lore novels, things like that, like anecdotal things from White Dwarf. So one of the captains, Luther Harkon, is like kind of a legendary figure in terms of anyone that likes Warhammer will be aware of him, but it's for the first time he's sort of been made into flesh, essentially. So there was like a Sartosan vampire model everyone thought was Luther Harkon, but probably wasn't. And he's kind of related to Warlock Harkon, who's like a sort of there's like a faction of sort of like knights in the Warhammer world that are also vampires, and he's supposed to be related to Warlock Harkon, who started that faction. So he's kind of an interesting character that's been pulled from the furthest reaches of the lore, and there's kind of monsters in there as well that there are models of, like the Mourngulls, are kind of a Forge World model. So they're kind of, it's expanded universe stuff, but pulled together and made into a force of its own, which is really interesting because it's kind of, it feels like Creative Assembly keeping all that stuff alive. And that stuff is kind of gone now as well because of Age of Sigmar. Like the old Warhammer world is gone. This has replaced it. This
sounds amazing. Like really one for big Warhammer fans, but also like exciting and fresh and really cool for relative newbies. Yeah,
totally. Because I mean, like, who doesn't like vampire pirates?
Exactly,
right? Like, and the design of them is incredible as well. So this was probably the next thing I was going to talk about. But like, I absolutely love the way they look. Like the level of detail is insane. Like the whole thing feels like this is an army that's kind of been dredged up from the bottom of the ocean. So like it's bits of broken ship, giant crabs, like these weird sort of like barnacle Promethean things, like as well as all your kind of zombie pirates and stuff like that. Which obviously look cool. They're kind of all like rotting bandanas and pistols and things. But it's a really kind of varied, strange army. It kind of feels a little bit like sort of like a haunted aquarium. Like it's like the level of detail is lovely, and they're a really characterful bunch. Like I spent a lot of time just sort of put it in 4K and just zooming up on crab claws and things like that.
This one makes me want to get painting again.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. Dry brushing all those barnacles. Yeah.
Okay, so clearly the world and the characters look amazing, but come on, it really comes down to what really makes a great Warhammer game and a great Total War game is the battle mechanics.
So yeah, they are. This is again, it's kind of like an interesting twist on perhaps what's already there, in that they are a vampire faction, so they have the same stuff that you come to expect from a vampire faction. So like you can raise units from the dead. So if your numbers are looking pretty low, you can suddenly pull up a load of cheap units from absolutely nowhere and overwhelm other armies that way and stuff. They have a lot of sort of meat shield troops as well. So you kind of your cheap zombies, you can form a line at the front of your force, and kind of it doesn't matter if they get killed, because basically you've just made them appear out of nowhere. They're worthless.
I love a good meat shield.
So yeah, that is like the core of the army. Obviously, like big, strong, powerful vampire heroes as well. But the big difference is that this is essentially a ranged army. So that like loads of the troops have guns because they're pirates, which is really cool. So playing an undead army that can fire stuff for the first time is incredible. And the other big thing as well is because they're pirates, they have cannon. So their artillery is off the chain. So they have like mortars and things like that. They have carronades. Anyone who loves anything nautical will recognise that. And they have like an insanely huge cannon called Queen Bess. And like if you build your artillery lineup correctly, you can basically wipe out a whole sort of army in a single volley, which is kind of incredible, especially as an undead faction. And then you still have the stuff they could always do of like putting like speed bumps of zombies appearing out of the ground behind people and stuff like that. So it's a really versatile, interesting troop type, I think. And there's some really fun things in there as well. So one of the units is just called a bloated corpse, which is essentially the boomer from Left 4 Dead. So it's one single kind of fat zombie, and he'll waddle up to like an enemy line and explode when he gets there. So he's quite hard to kill. Like if you're playing against him, the intention will be to shoot this guy down before he gets to you.
Direct hit.
So you'll be like peppering bullets into him, and if he reaches you, he speeds up, blows up, and this thing can like take sort of 50, 60 people out with him. So if you use them correctly, obviously they're one-shot things, but you can raise them from the dead afterwards. So they're just walking bombs. There's things, something called a Necrofex Colossus, which essentially is a giant made out of like sunken ships, which is exactly as mad as it sounds. Like he sort of has cannons for arms, and cannon for arms.
Cannon for arms. The plural of cannon is cannon.
A new Bodders would pick me up on that if I didn't correct myself. So he's like a huge, large monster that also has range capabilities as well. So as you see in the campaign as well, like this is an army that's kind of all about versatility. So they have like a lot of monsters and things which are great up close, but also great sort of range capability as well.
I feel as though I should give our viewers a little bit of context here. Matt and I are huge Master and Commander and Patrick O'Brien fans, so we spend a lot of time discussing naval warfare, a little bit of piratical or privateering as well.
I mean, we could make this video half an hour long and just go on to it. So this is Patrick O'Brien meets Bram Stoker.
What a beautiful thought. Okay, so much for the battles. They do sound amazing. What about the campaign as a whole?
Campaign, again, versatility is the key. Like they're a really fun faction to play because they can do both things. So like I think your classic Total War experience is building a land empire. So you kind of you get the missions at the start of the game, and you kind of take the rebel towns and you build up bit by bit, and you can do that, and that's what I was doing as Luther Harkon. But also the option is always there to almost just become like a horde army. So at any time on the campaign map or at sea, you can start upgrading your ships. And like every army has a ship of its own that kind of is attached to it, and that can generate troops. It has its own structures. It has its means of generating money. So if you wanted to, you could sack off like having any kind of a land empire and just go to sea in these ships. Build them up and
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it kind of ties into a couple of other mechanics they've added. So you can build pirate ports essentially. So these are kind of like they're almost parasitical. They kind of you take an enemy port, and instead of taking it over or razing it to the ground or occupying it or whatever, you just add one of these pirate ports to it, which just siphons resources off it for as long as it's there. So which is an interesting one, because whenever I take a port like this, if you're trying to take a whole region, obviously you're just going to take the place itself. You wouldn't want to kind of just have something attached to it. But like if you're fighting war with the Dark Elves on the other side of the ocean, then of course you just sail across there, add a little pirate port to all their things, like ruin their resources, make some money for yourself. And if you wanted to, you could do that instead of having any kind of land at all.
Wow. Okay. That's a really different approach. That sounds incredible.
And there's loads of other little bits and pieces as well that kind of add to that. So there's like treasure maps to find. You could, like one of your stances as an army is dig for treasure. So you're kind of trying to unlock and sort of understand these treasure maps that you get. There are pieces of 8 which are sort of specific bits of treasure you can go on missions for, which will unlock like regiments of renown, which are particularly sort of like single, like one-off regiments that are particularly powerful. And also there's like a whole infamy system as well. So the more stuff you do that is piratey, the more your infamy will grow, which essentially involves all the normal bad things you do in a Total War game. But also kind of there are whole pirate fleets now. So there are enemy pirates that are kind of standalone armies, a bit like kind of rebel armies on the map, and that by defeating those, your infamy will grow. And certain, like once your infamy reaches a certain point, you can fight these big pirates to get parts of a sea shanty, which ties into the end game. So there's a specific handcrafted end game here that's totally different from anything else. And I'm not going to ruin it because it's kind of interesting and cool, but like these guys have their own agenda, and the kind of infamy system and the fact that the pirates all ties into that. And essentially you're working towards this end game, which involves like giant sea monsters and things like that, as you would expect, given the context.
Of course. Okay, I mean this all just sounds basically amazing, Matt. But so is this a game for real Warhammer and Total War fans?
Oh man, totally, yeah. And it's I think it's fantastic because it kind of has all those elements that Warhammer fans will love, of keeping the old world alive, adding to it, bringing things that they'll probably recognise from anecdotal stuff they may have read years and years ago. And if you like Total War Warhammer 2, it's just a sense that the game's still being supported, and it adds to it and it changes it in a significant way. So I love it, and I will be continuing to play it, and it's great fun.
Sounds like my kind of DLC. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed for more amazing videos like this. And in the comments below, please give us your best piratical contractions.
That sounds so rude.
It's not rude, it's nice. Like vampirates.